Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So in today's video, as you can tell, we will be talking about a new storm system. There is that old storm system that I've been talking about for the past several videos. It's still going on across the United States, and it will continue to drag its impacts towards the east, really up until almost a weekend. So yeah, it's gonna be there for a bit while longer. But I want to start talking about this new storm as there's a lot to talk about it. There's definitely a lot of locations that could be impacted by this upcoming storm that haven't been impacted by this first one, and really just a complex pattern, especially with the tropics. There could be a lot of influence from tropical systems, maybe some hurricanes. I'm sure you've heard about it. There's probably going to be a tropical storm that is going to be named today. That's what they're speculating at this point. And yeah, so they obviously won't affect everyone with their strength, but with the moisture, that could affect all the way areas in the upper Midwest with the amount of moisture they will bring. So yeah, it's quite a stretch in terms of how much impacts they could bring. And yeah, if before we get into this, if you guys are watching this video, you're not yet subscribed, or if you are just new and you're just whatever, if you like this video, consider subscribing. If you like this channel, obviously just don't subscribe for no reason. And if you are enjoying the video, giving it a thumbs up helps out a lot as well. And comments and concerns down below, I answer all of them, so feel free to leave some down below. Otherwise, let's start talking about this. First off, I want to look at the National Weather Service and just show you, yes, we are talking about a storm system that is a bit further away, right? But I do want to show you what's going on today, right now, what to expect. I know I will have a lot of viewers that kind of just like seeing what's in the long range, but also in the short range. So obviously, you can see the orange colors. Now, that isn't anything to do with severe weather. That is, well, heat advisories. And you can see a lot of the Northeast is affected by that. And especially notice where we have the excessive heat warnings. Kind of like a bit more intense than just heat advisory warnings, right? It's the heat warnings are pretty much there to tell you that it's going to be even hotter across these areas than in the orange. And notice it's across the larger metros, and that makes sense, right? The black concrete, the black tops, all that stuff. It makes the temperature get a bit worse, and it doesn't have as good of a ventilation, if you will. Notice that's Kansas City, that's St. Louis, and of course all along New Jersey and the eastern coast. There are large cities, so they have excessive heat warnings. Very dangerous. The actual temperatures themselves aren't too ridiculous. Notice it's 90 degrees. That may not seem that bad, but the humidity and oppressiveness of this is what makes it dangerous. And if I were to take a look at the heat warning, you would see that the feels like is just insane. 108, and that's because of the humidity, the excessive amount of moisture that's in the atmosphere. It's causing that, yeah, extreme heat and humidity. That's why it's worse, and that's why humidity, I mean, 108 with no humidity is tolerable, but 86 with tons of humidity sometimes isn't. And obviously that feels like, as you can see, we'll be almost in the triple digits, if not well beyond it. So that's what we have. We also have that across the West Coast. That's the main story. Generally more of a hot pattern than cool for the much of the United States, whether you live in Michigan or in Florida. Now, I do want to say that in terms of the severe weather from this storm that is still ongoing, we do have a few warnings and watches up. No tornado watches, but we do have quite a bit of severe thunderstorm watches. Notice where they are firing across the Northeast, the Mid-Atlantic. These aren't big beasts, but if you get under a single one of these storms, say just north of Harrisburg, you're definitely going to get drenched. Probably some small hail with that, maybe some damaging wind as well. Definitely something to be alert for. Notice to the south, we have a very, very similar story. I do want to show you something really cool. Look at the storm complex across the UP. Look how big that thunderstorm is, just in terms of how much rain and how, I mean, that's a huge thunderstorm. You know, you could have a bad thunderstorm that's that size, a little guy like right there. That is very impressive. There was some pretty large hail with this, and that's indicative of because of that white spot right there. That's the radar picking up very, very heavy. Rain can't get that heavy, so that's obviously picking up probably quarter size or larger hail. And look at that, Ironwood just got blasted by lots of rain. It did weaken, but it could still push into Marquette. Notice where we are starting to see activity firing as I'm uploading this and recording this video. Iowa, look at that, boom, storm after storm. This will probably develop into line and track across into Illinois, Wisconsin of varying intensity. That's a bit hard to predict. Look at that. St. Louis, they did get blasted by a bit of rain that will continue trucking on towards the east. And yeah, just these little bands and showers of storms. They're these day-to-day chances. They're very hard to predict exactly what they will do. Even this thing right here, yes, we could assume that it's going to form a line, but how bad does it get? How long does it last? Is there going to be new development behind this? It's all really, really, really hard to tell what's exactly going to happen. So that's why it's important to stay forecast aware. And if we were to take a glance at what the short range models are showing just for today, again, I know this video is about a next week's thunderstorm or next week's storms. Not the one that's going on right now. I still want to go over the short range forecast and notice that this is what FE3 model shows. It's a very, very good model. And actually, I want to see if, okay, yep, the HER model. This is a better model, and I just wanted to see if it loaded in its long outlook, and it does that every 6 hours, so it's not always there. But thankfully, we're actually, when I'm recording this video, it's just came in, so we got lucky. And notice, right, look at that, what it shows across Illinois and Wisconsin, quite a bit of storms developing into portions of Michigan, just firing up. Notice that the storms across the east and northeast that are going on right now, they do die off. There definitely still will be some in the afternoon and evening, but mainly the focus switches towards Illinois, Wisconsin, Indiana. It doesn't keep this model, the HER model, the storms as strong as maybe some of the other models do, or as this model did yesterday, but it's definitely still there. And again, it's very hard to predict. This model may be underestimating the storm intensity for some, maybe overestimating it for others. So we'll just have to see. Notice that it does introduce a new cluster into northern Illinois again tomorrow morning, so you can see repeated waves. Look at that one right into Indianapolis, and some light to moderate, really just light rain showers across northern Minnesota. Look at that, and that's not really going to be severe, but definitely something that could bring a bit of beneficial rain. And notice from that tomorrow there could be another line of, this is into late Wednesday, another line of storms across again Illinois into Indiana, Michigan. So you could see just repeated showers and storms chances, and even on Friday there could be some more developing across Illinois and Indiana. So just really an active pattern. And again, it may not look impressive what just happened, but if you're seeing that cloud coming at you, you will think it's definitely impressive. So let's take a look at that total accumulated precip, obviously favoring the area where the storms are more likely to fire. But again, you can see it doesn't show much across eastern Iowa, right? But today, if you're to look at this, it's a guarantee that the storms are going to keep firing up here. So yeah, obviously it's a very changeable and hard to predict event. So just stay wary, stay focused on the weather, and nothing really bad should happen if you're prepared. So let's take a glance now at the long-range storm system. So first I want to take a look at the Canadian. Yes, and I'm starting off with the Canadian because why not? I think it does a pretty good job showing the system next week. So here's our first system. Notice it's spinning all the way right there across southern Canada. That's why there's all these showers and storms kind of developing day after day. Notice its final show could be still on Friday, late Thursday into early Friday. So a lot of time still before that first one pulls away. But look what starts happening. We start seeing a lot of moisture across the southwest into Missouri, kind of the Kansas area, the southern plains. Also, the tropical storm, potentially a hurricane across Florida into portions of the southeast. That is definitely something to watch for. And look what happens. We see a lot of moisture move into the northwest. We see a lot of moisture from the south, a lot of moisture from the southwest. And what we start seeing is a storm system, especially the Canadian shows this very nicely, that starts developing quite a bit of rain and shower activities across the northern plains into the west, areas that haven't seen rain in a good while. Look at that, South Dakota, Nebraska, definitely a good storm potential right there. And look what the Canadian shows as well. Look at all that precip right there across the southeast. This one doesn't show the precip getting as far to the north as other models, which I'll show you in just a second. But look, it gets all the way into Kentucky, Virginia, all that rain. Not the hurricane itself or whatever it will be, but the moisture from it. And notice there's our cold front from that system. And these two can merge potentially and, produce quite a bit of rain for the northeast. The Canadian doesn't show that. It redevelops another tropical storm, which could potentially go back onto the line. Normally, the weather models, obviously, they're known for being inaccurate or accurate. It's a coin toss, if you will, right? But especially when you have all these hurricanes at this time of the year, all these tropical storms, they immensely start impacting the weather and what will come of normally systems that are already hard to predict. So see, right there we have that storm system, right? And if this thing tracks back onto the United States, that would keep the cold front away, potentially do some sort of interesting maneuver across the Midwest, and obviously this would bring a ton of rain onto the Northeast. So yeah, there's a lot of things to watch for. So the storm system that I'm referring to is more or less a conglomerate of uncertainty, but I do want to show you other models that kind of depict it better across at least across what it could do across the West. Because towards the east, it's very uncertain, obviously, with that tropical moisture. But I think that storm system could have more definitive impacts across the West. And the Canadian does show some rain here, you could see, but it's not as well as the GFS. And I want to show you the GFS model and take a look at its MSLP and precip, and go back to hour 6 and run this forward. So there's our storm system today. It only gets off the Northeast by this weekend, but then again, we have this tropical storm, we have this moisture sending way into the Midwest. You can see these showers right all the way into Illinois, and that's again associated with that flow. But look what happens right here. The GFS shows this very well. We see snow across British Columbia, which is interesting, the mountains. Notice Utah, Colorado, that's some widespread rain right there, and that's a storm system I'm more confident about, as this is a bit more hard to predict. But look, into Wyoming, into Montana, quite a bit of rain, into southern Canada. And again, this tropical moisture feed definitely helps in on that. And you can see a lot of moisture across the plains, the west. We have more low pressures and storms kind of developing. So you can see there's no defined really circulation with this, but a lot of precipitation, a lot of rain. And we do finally start see more of a push from the GFS, but this is very far out, 300 hours out, right? And if we have a storm system, a hurricane that kind of plows to the east at this time, this could keep that cold front at bay for a bit longer. Or maybe these two events could collide. But for now, you can see it does develop a storm system with more defined circulation after a while, and finally does push a lot of that moisture out. But that's across the west. Further towards the east, look what happens. We have this tropical storm. It plows towards the southeast. And look what happens. That moisture reaches all the way into Illinois. Look at that. Into Indiana, into Michigan. So, yeah. Extreme moisture coming off the ocean right now. Florida will be absolutely getting drenched with rain pretty much every day. Rain chances. But again, look at that west. That is definitely a decent chance. And that's kind of the storm system I'm referring to, which will be just bringing showers and storms all of next week. And, that's much needed, if you recall, that concerning pattern is kind of taking shape there. So they would definitely benefit from that. There's going to be heat still there. But look, if Montana, Idaho, Wyoming were to see an inch and a half, that would be very good. But yeah, you could see that definitely southern Canada picking up on some rain. So it's not just the southeast. I mean, Florida, you can see takes the cake. I mean, look how much rain they could be seeing. In the double digits amounts of rain for the next 15 days is definitely not out of the question. I would actually argue it's likely in some portions at least. And then notice that the east also pretty wet. This may not look extreme like what Florida has, but the model's showing this much rain this far out at, an inch to almost 3 inches in some areas across such a large area. It's going to be more of a wet rather than a dry pattern. The northwest and west kind of missing out the most, also the northeast. But again, that could change, especially for the northeast, not so much the west, as it seems like they'll be stuck in a drier pattern more certainly than the northeast. I mean, all it takes is one little tropical wave, tropical disturbance, tropical storm, maybe a hurricane, hopefully not. But, you could see a ton of rain from that, which some models did indicate earlier on. So this is what the GFS shows now. This is what it showed in the morning, right? Notice it did introduce a bit more across the mid-Atlantic towards the northeast. Yeah, there are some differences for sure, but generally it's the same. Look at this. It favored a lot of rain for the southeast of GFS here. With the latest run, maybe not as much, but definitely a bit more towards Montana and Idaho. This was at midnight, and this is today. You can see it introduces that with that storm system that I'm talking about. Let's take a glance at the European. I think this model has the best handle on it because it showed the storm system the earliest. So there's our wave today, or our low pressure. There it is. You can see lots of wind, lots of chilly air relatively from that. And again, the clusters of storms and showers just raking through the northeast and Midwest. They finally push out by this weekend, but that's when we start getting active. Look, we have a large potentially tropical storm disturbance, maybe a hurricane potentially. Right now it's predicted to be a storm. And look across the west, we see that monsoon activity kind of get more organized. And look, Montana, Wyoming, right? Idaho, that's a large, widespread area of moderate rain, shoots up towards southern Canada, right? And that's definitely a relief in the form of rain, which is needed there. And you can see this low pressure, this tropical storm remnants rides up into the northeast. Definitely would produce a lot of rain if that were to happen. And you can see the other models are keeping it dry. The European doesn't. And look at that. It shows a lot of rain right here again with that storm system, which the European, again, it's a bit easier to see that storm system across the west next week compared to the other models, which just keep it a bit less organized, to say the least. And this is only 240 hours out, and some of these rainfall amounts, especially towards the south and east, are rather ridiculous. So again, there's our storm system. That's the remnants of it, right? The next few days, still many locations will pick up a lot. And then look, the southwest, the monsoon continues strong. But that is definitely not it. And looking further to the north of the southwest, into Idaho, Montana, you start picking up that rain. Those are decent rains for Montana. That's up to 2-3 inches in some areas. Into Idaho, Utah, Wyoming, and look at Florida, right? If that tropical storm were to organize very, very well, that could definitely leave a stripe of up to 6-7 inches of rain. Southern Canada picking up decent rains as well. Maybe not so much Alberta and Saskatchewan, but according to this model, more of Manitoba and Ontario. So we'll just have to wait and see. Look at that, New York City, 5 inches potentially right there. And this is just through 240 hours out. We have a lot of activity kind of beyond that, according to some models like the GFS. Look at the West, Nevada, Utah. Those are decent rains. In fact, that could actually get many areas close to out of the drought in the areas where they aren't in the exceptional, in areas that it's moderate or just severe. That could help out a lot. And across the southwest, these rains that could make completely get portions of southern Mexico and New Mexico and Arizona out of the drought where it has already been weakened. The northwest, unfortunately, southwest not, or southwestern Canada and northwestern U.S. not too good, but at least we have the west and southwest getting some much needed rainfall. And yeah, that's basically, I just wanted to show you these storm systems. I already showed you the Canadian. Let me show you the United Kingdom meteorological model. Let's see what it shows. Notice there's our cold front today into tomorrow and gets out by the time the weekend is here, right? But look at the southwest increasing, the southeast increasing, and eventually does show more activity kind of starting to show across the west, but it doesn't go out that far. Only goes out to 144 hours, yeah, on every single run. So that's what it shows in terms of its precipitation outlook. And again, this model, sorry about that, isn't as accurate as one would hope, the UK one, but it's definitely still good to look at a lot of models. And yeah, that's basically it. I do apologize if this video is a bit disorganized, kind of talking about these storms, but I just want to emphasize that there's a lot of uncertainty. I can't really say that, oh, there's a definitive storm system coming, because, I mean, there is across the west, but again, do you want to classify the one across the east, like that activity, as a storm system, maybe two separate ones, or kind of just an active pattern overall? And there again, the rain across the west will be associated with a lot of energy and moisture, but not necessarily a closed circulation, so you can't really call it a storm system. But yeah, expect potentially some rain across the west. Really anywhere west of, I would say, Idaho, Nevada, or anywhere east of Idaho, Nevada, towards all the way to the end of the coast, expect a more active pattern, to say the least. And some areas will get missed out, but for the majority, especially the further south and east you kind of venture, you'll get more and more wet chances. And this is the RDPS, a high-res Canadian model. Look at the rain it just shows from the cold front across Indiana, Illinois. Some areas picking up 7-8 inches maybe, which again, this is just from that first storm system, only 84 hours out. And again, I do want to say that in between each one of these days, today's kind of like a long-range pattern video. In each one of these days, there's a severe weather risk. Right, today's there's a severe weather risk. There'll probably be one tomorrow. So, with all this activity, this may look irrelevant when I'm talking about it on a large scope. It's still dangerous. So if you're under a severe thunderstorm warning, take cover, or just be careful. If you're under a tornado warning, please take cover. If flooded roadway, turn around, don't drown, and all those precautions. Thunder roars, go indoors. Lightning can strike you. If you could hear the thunder, lightning can strike you. Doesn't mean it will, but it has the capability of doing so. I do apologize about my phone buzzing off. And then here's a NAM model, another high res. You can see showing a lot of activity just in the next 84 hours. So yeah, folks, hopefully you learned something new. Hopefully this informed you. And I do want to say, remember at the beginning of this video when I was talking about the storms across Iowa, look, they continue just blowing up at very, very quick proportions. So if you live across northern Illinois, Iowa, Wisconsin, get prepared. This is probably going to form into the line and bring some winds, damaging storms, and potentially some, maybe even some tornadoes. I want to finish this off by showing you that there is a enhanced area of severe weather today, which is definitely something that is a bit unusual. I wouldn't say unusual, but it's definitely on the higher end. It's not moderate or high, but it's enhanced. There could be some pretty bad storms. So again, stay safe, stay wary, and just be prepared. Chicago, Detroit, Indy, St. Louis, Toledo, Milwaukee, Madison, Rockford, Naperville, even in Philadelphia, Columbus, Ohio. All these areas could be seeing some nasty severe weather today. This is for tomorrow. Very similar areas. Again, Chicago, Milwaukee, Fort Wayne, and whatnot. And then day 3, it gets a bit further towards the south. That cold front starts moving out. But then, we're going to be in an active pattern. So even beyond day 3, there's going to be more severe weather risks. It's just a bit too far out to tell at this point. All right, folks. Thank you so much for watching. And I'll catch you all in the next episode. See ya.